Linda has been a senior underwriter at a regional insurance company for 11 years. Last Tuesday, her manager asked her to join a 30-minute call. HR was on the line. So was someone from legal. The call lasted 9 minutes. She did not see it coming. Her last review was strong. Her numbers were clean. The team had just finished its best quarter in 3 years. On the way home, she called her husband. They have two car payments, a mortgage, and a daughter starting college in the fall. That night, she opened her laptop and searched for jobs. The listings that came back looked nothing like the job she just lost. Linda is not the story. Linda is the data point. There are hundreds of thousands of Lindas right now. Each one buys groceries, pays a mortgage, carries health insurance, replaces a car every 7 years. Each one is, in the language of economists, a consumer. Wages cycling back through the economy they lived in. The company that let her go posted record margins the following quarter. The earnings call lasted 45 minutes. The stock went up. Nobody on that call asked the question that keeps certain economists up at night. When enough Lindas stop spending, who buys the products? That is the question this article asks. And the reason it is not being asked publicly is more interesting than the question itself. And yet the mainstream conversation stays focused on the layoff announcements, stock reductions, and productivity gains. This freight train has a name. Nobody wants to say it. This is the Social Contract AI Freight Train, Jobs Part 19. The revenue problem hiding inside the productivity story, when firm-level efficiency becomes economy-level damage. Section 1. The silence is the story. Economists see it. Researchers see it. The labs building these systems see it clearly enough that OpenAI published a 13-page policy document proposing wealth funds, robot taxes, and a 4-day work week. Sam Altman called it the beginning of a conversation. Reid Hoffman wrote about the moral obligation companies carry when they restructure around AI. The frameworks are thoughtful, the moral arguments are serious, and every single one of them stops short of naming the core economic problem. The American economy runs on consumer spending. Roughly 70 cents of every dollar of GDP comes from households buying things. Cars, groceries, software subscriptions, restaurant meals, vacations, healthcare, housing. That spending comes from wages. When wages disappear, spending follows. When spending falls, revenue falls. When revenue falls, the next round of cuts begin. This is not a complicated chain of reasoning. It is first-year economics. It is almost entirely absent from the mainstream conversation about AI and jobs. Section 2. The firm-level math. Every company making AI headcount decisions is responding to real pressures. The competitive dynamics are genuine. The capability gains are genuine. The cost of moving too slowly is real. Meta cut 16,000 jobs in March 2026 explicitly to fund AI infrastructure. Block, Coinbase, Oracle, and Accenture made similar moves within weeks of each other. Each announcement came with the same framing. We're not cutting costs. We're transforming how we work. The stock market rewarded each announcement. Analysts called it disciplined capital allocation. At the firm level, the math works. The problem is not what happens at one firm. The problem is what happens when every firm runs the same math at the same time. Section 3. The economy level problem. Individual rationality producing collective damage is not a new concept. It has a name. Economists called it the tragedy of commons. Each actor optimizes for their own outcome. The shared resource that everyone depends on gets depleted. No single actor caused the problem. Every actor contributed to it. The shared resource here is consumer demand. Each company that replaces high-wage knowledge workers with AI systems captures immediate margin improvement. It also removes spending power from the economy it sells into. One company doing this is efficiency. Every company doing this simultaneously is demand destruction. The Citrini research scenario published in February 2026 called this the ghost GDP. Economic output that benefits the owners of computing power, but never circulates through the human consumer economy. Productivity surges, corporate margins expand, the headline numbers look strong. Meanwhile, the wage-based spending that funds the revenue side of every income statement quietly contracts. Machines don't buy groceries. They do not pay rent. They do not book vacations or replace their cars or carry health insurance. The productivity gains are real. The spending of those gains we're supposed to generate does not materialize. Section 4. The silence is not accidental. The people who understand the math work for institutions with direct financial stakes in AI deployment. publishing research that frames AI as a demand destruction mechanism is not a career accelerating move when your employer is a hyperscaler, an investment bank, a lab raising its next funding round. The political framing makes it worse. Touch from the left and you are anti-progress. Touch it from the right and you are a socialist. Both sides need technology sector capital. Nobody wants to own the conversation until the problem is undeniable. The new jobs argument provides convenient cover. Technology transitions have always displaced workers and create new roles. This time will be no different. The argument is technically defensible and conveniently improvable in the short term. It gives everyone permission to wait and see. The waiting has a cost. Section 5. The constraints. The catastrophic scenario is not inevitable. Real constraints will slow deployment before economy reaches a breaking point. They are already visible. Board-level governance is one. Fiduciary duty is not only about this quarter. A board that approves mass displacement to capture short-term margin improvement while destroying the consumer base that funds long-term revenue is not fulfilling its obligations. That conversation is beginning in boardrooms that are paying attention. Brand is another risk. Companies that treat AI transformation as force majeure, an extraordinary circumstance that suspends ordinary obligations to employees, are making a legible signal to every future employee, customer, and partner. Reid Hoffman is right that alumni networks are assets. They are also amplifiers when the departure is undignified. Regulatory friction will emerge. It always does when displacement reaches the scale at political visibility. The midterm elections of 2026 and the 2028 general are already shaping up around economy anxiety that has AI job displacement at its core, even if the conversation has not yet named it directly. And the economic feedback loop itself is a constraint. Companies do not keep scaling AI investment when their customer base is contracting. Consumer spending drives 70% of GDP. When that signal turns negative, the investment calculus changes. The ghost GDP scenario assumes firms keep accelerating into a collapsing market. Most firms do not operate that way. Section 6, the conversation. The question is not whether AI will transform the labor market. It will. The question is whether the transformation happens fast enough to outrun the economic feedback loops that constrain it. The labs are proposing interventions: wealth funds, automation taxes, shortened work weeks, expanded safety nets. These ideas have been circulating in policy circles for years. OpenAI publishing them signals that the people closest to the technology believe the risks are real enough to start planning seriously. That planning requires naming the problem directly. Not AI and jobs in the abstract. Not layoff announcements and stock reactions. The specific mechanism by which wage-based consumer demand gets depleted faster than new wage generation roles that can replace it. And what that means for the revenue side of every business that depends on people having money to spend. The freight train has a name. The track it is on is visible. The conversation on what to do about it is just the beginning. It is overdue.